The year is 1993, in the small, unassuming town of Greenfield. Life here was usually quiet, a place where everybody knew everybody, and the biggest news was the annual bake sale. But on the morning of June 14th, that tranquility was shattered. The town's wealthiest resident, a reclusive art collector named Alistair Munro, was found dead in his study. At first glance, it looked like a heart attack. He was an elderly man, after all. But the local police chief, a sharp-eyed veteran named Miller, noticed something wasn't right. A priceless Fabergé egg, the centerpiece of Munro's collection, was missing from its display case. This wasn't just a natural death. It was a robbery gone wrong. The initial investigation hit a wall. Munro's mansion was a fortress with state-of-the-art security for the time. There were no signs of forced entry. This meant the thief was someone Munro knew, someone he had willingly let inside. The list of suspects wasn't long. There was the disgruntled former butler, the indebted nephew, and a rival art collector known for his shady dealings. But all of them had alibis, some weak, some solid, but nothing concrete could pin them to the crime. Days turned into weeks, and the case grew cold. The town whispered, rumors flew, but the truth remained buried. The missing egg and the mystery of Alistair Munro's death became Greenfield's very own local legend. Fast forward 1 year. The case is officially cold, gathering dust in a filing cabinet. The Munro estate is being settled, and a young, ambitious lawyer named Sarah Jenkins is handling the will. Sarah wasn't your typical small-town lawyer. She was sharp, tenacious, and had a reputation for digging deeper than anyone else. While sorting through Munro's personal effects, she stumbled upon a box labeled Old Hobbies. Inside were dusty model train sets, half-finished paintings, and tucked away at the bottom, a collection of tiny, almost microscopic cameras. Alistair Munro, it turned out, had a secret passion for miniature electronics. Sarah's heart started to pound. Could it be? She remembered the police report mentioning how Munro was a creature of habit, spending every evening in his study. She examined the study's inventory list from the crime scene photos. Everything seemed accounted for: the grand oak desk, the leather-bound books, the ornate grandfather clock. Wait, the grandfather clock. It was an antique, a family heirloom. It was also the perfect hiding spot. She got permission to examine the clock, which was now in an evidence lockup. With a delicate touch, she opened its case. There, nestled among the gears and pendulums, was a tiny lens, no bigger than a pinhead. Munro had bugged his own study. The police were skeptical. The technology was obscure, and they had already closed the case. But Sarah persisted. She found an electronics expert who, after days of careful work, managed to retrieve a single videotape from the device. The quality was grainy, the sound was muffled, but it was there. The recording from the night of June 13th, 1993, Sarah watched it alone in her office. The flickering images on the small screen holding the key to everything. The tape was long, mostly showing an empty room. Then the door opened. Alistair Munro walked in, followed by another man. Sarah leaned closer. The visitor was a familiar face in Greenfield. It was Daniel Finch, the town's beloved charity organizer, a man famous for his fundraising galas and his impeccable reputation. On the tape, the two men were arguing. The audio was faint, but Sarah could make out words like debt, desperate, and one last chance. Finch was pleading, and Munro was refusing. Then, the argument escalated. Finch lunged for the Fabergé egg on the mantelpiece. Munro tried to stop him. There was a struggle. Munro, frail and old, was pushed backward. He stumbled, hitting his head on the corner of his heavy oak desk before collapsing. Finch froze, panic etched on his face. He checked for a pulse, realized Munro was gone, and then, with trembling hands, he pocketed the egg and fled, leaving the scene to look like a natural death. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The perfect citizen was a killer. Now Sarah faced a huge problem. The videotape was damning, but was it admissible in court? In the 90s, video evidence was still a gray area. Laws around secret recordings were complex. Prosecution could argue it was an illegal recording, a violation of privacy, and get it thrown out. Without the tape, she had nothing. The case would collapse, and a murderer would walk free. This is where Sarah's brilliance as a lawyer truly shone. She didn't just have evidence. She needed a strategy to make sure the jury could see it. The trial of Daniel Finch began, and the whole town watched, captivated. Finch sat confidently with his high-priced legal team, portraying himself as a victim of a tragic misunderstanding. The prosecution presented its case, but it was weak, relying on circumstantial evidence that Finch's lawyers easily dismantled. The mood in the courtroom was turning in Finch's favor. He was going to get away with it. Then, it was Sarah's turn to present the estate's civil case, which was running parallel to the criminal one. She called Daniel Finch to the stand. Her questioning started gently, asking about his charity work, his relationship with Monroe, painting a picture of the man everyone thought they knew. Finch was calm, collected, answering every question with a practiced smile. He denied any financial trouble, denied ever arguing with Monroe. Then, Sarah changed her line of questioning. "Mr. Finch," she said, her voice steady, "do you have a good memory?" He said he did. "Do you recall what you were wearing on the evening of June 13th, 1993? Finch hesitated for a fraction of a second. His lawyers objected, but the judge allowed it. He described a simple suit. Sarah then asked, "And Mr. Monroe's study? You remember it well? For instance, do you remember the large grandfather clock against the wall?" Finch nodded, a little confused. "A beautiful piece, wasn't it?" Sarah continued, walking slowly towards the jury. "So intricate, so many moving parts. A real work of art." "Tell me, Mr. Finch, are you afraid of clocks?" The courtroom was silent. Finch laughed nervously. "Afraid of clocks? Of course not. That's a ridiculous question." Sarah turned to face him, her eyes locking onto his. "Then you won't mind if we take a closer look at this particular clock, will you?" Before the defense could object, she signaled an assistant who wheeled in a large television and a VCR. The defense team erupted, shouting about inadmissible evidence. But Sarah wasn't planning on playing the tape. "Not yet," she addressed the judge. "Your Honor, I am not presenting this as evidence. I am simply using it as a tool during my questioning." The judge, intrigued, allowed her to proceed. Sarah turned back to Finch. The tape was in the VCR, but the screen was blank. "Mr. Finch," she said, holding the remote control. "This is a recording from a camera hidden inside the grandfather clock. It shows everything that happened in that study on the night Mr. Monroe died. Now, I'm going to ask you one more time. What happened in that room?" Finch's face went pale. His eyes darted from Sarah to the blank television screen and back again. His confident demeanor crumbled. He was sweating. He didn't know if the tape was real, if it was admissible, or what it showed. But the possibility, the sheer terror of being exposed, was enough. Sarah didn't say a word. She just stood there holding the remote, her finger hovering over the play button. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. Every eye was on Daniel Finch. The seconds ticked by, feeling like hours. Finally, he broke. He slumped in his chair, buried his face in his hands, and a choked sob escaped his lips. "I didn't mean to," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I was desperate. The confession hung in the air, a shocking admission that stunned the entire courtroom. Finch had confessed. He had cracked under the pressure of a bluff. Sarah had never even pressed play. Daniel Finch was convicted of manslaughter and robbery, based on his own public confession. The hidden cameras tape was later reviewed and confirmed his story, but it was Sarah's clever legal strategy, using the idea of the evidence rather than the evidence itself, that secured the conviction. She had played the man, not the cards. The case of the Greenfield collector became a landmark story, a lesson in how a sharp mind could be more powerful than any piece of technology. Sarah Jenkins became a legal star, but she always remained in Greenfield, a quiet hero who proved that sometimes the most powerful weapon in a courtroom is the truth, or at least the fear that it's about to be revealed. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.